Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, Brian's Life. So today I want to touch base on something I was thinking about the other day. Do you get very angry when somebody lies to you? How angry do you get? What are some of the things you can do to ease that anger and have a way different outcome on it? So first of all, I'm sure we all do get pretty angry if somebody really, lies to us and it affects us. Now we can go down a little bit of a rabbit hole on why are we so sensitive to that. We can go and analyze why are they lying. How does it affect us? I prefer not to go down too far of a rabbit hole. I've been down enough of them. But this is, I have trust issues, and I've had trust issues, and then you start to think, well, why? How were you brought up? And what was the basis on my trust issues, and et cetera, et cetera. So like I said, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but that's a big part of it as well. But then there's the everyday. We all know we got the white lies and that kind of. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about ones that are fairly significant and unexpected from somebody, that you obviously care about or hold some kind of value to. Because if you didn't care about them, of course it wouldn't affect you, wouldn't get so angry. So how can we deal with that? And what are some of the options? And let's dive right into that. So for me, it's one of my touchiest subjects because I have again, like I've said, I've got a trust issue. So putting that aside for a moment, looking at something completely different, I own their lie when I get angry. So let me repeat that. I own their lie when I get angry. And what I mean by that is, we don't know why they've chosen and for what reason they have chosen to lie. It could be plain malice. It could be, they're trying to gain something, but it could also be maybe they're afraid of something. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they're, they don't want to hurt your feelings. And I mean that now different from a white lie, okay? Like in a sense that we all have the little tiny white lies, but I'm talking about even something more significant. They don't know how to approach, you on or something like that. So it's a lie that way. And we can easily judge ourselves when we, if they turn around and make a reasoning argument for why they chose not to or tell you the truth, and it's in one of those categories. Now we can sometimes go and say, well, that made no sense, that, better off telling me and stuff, but we can't really delve into their minds and how they were thinking at that particular moment. And if you could, maybe you'd have a better understanding, but let's face it, none of us really can. Now, if we get to know somebody very well and it's out of character, that's a little bit of a different story. But in general, obviously we can't tell why and what their main reason was and what their hope was in return. Okay, so meaning maybe they feel at the moment it's a better choice. Now it could be out of fear, it could be maybe they're out of anger as well. Okay, but what I said earlier, you own their problem, you own it when you become angry. And I'm sharing this with you because you see, this has been one of my most difficult things. Once I've lost trust in somebody, it's almost impossible for you to ever get it back. Lies are one of the things that really affect me the hardest. But I've also realized sometimes I seek out a lie because I have trust issues. So that's, like I said, I don't want to go down these rabbit holes too deep. But these are some things that you have to analyze as well, It can very well be. Now, let's delve into more what I feel about the fact is how you own it when it's their lie. So for whatever reason they have chosen now to lie to you, they have a reason. In their mind, they have a reason. Odds are, in their mind, it's a valid reason. In that particular moment, it's a valid reason. They've made a choice. They've made a choice that they feel is the best choice at that particular moment and that particular outcome. Not going to argue about whether that is the right choice or not, because you see, the person that's been lied to will have a different opinion, obviously. Hence why you're upset. But Bottom line is, at that particular moment, that person made a choice, okay? Now, plain and simple, if you get super angry about it, it affects your day and affects your mood and affects how you're feeling in the inner guts, and you're turned upside down and you just feel destroyed, depending, of course, the scale of the lie, you've now owned what you would consider a mistake is because they lied to you. That is, in your opinion, their mistake. But now you've owned their mistake upon yourself because it's letting you get affected. And by getting affected of it, you're letting that, there again, their mistake, their problem, be part of your problem. Okay? Now, that may sound overly simplified, but if you really think about it, it can be a very rewarding relief for a moment, because if you think, step outside of that for a minute and say, I don't want to own their problem. I don't want to own it. I got enough of my own. I don't need to own their problem. Okay? So if you can start looking at it like that, and then you can take a little bit of a step outside of the whole arena, and maybe there is some valid reason or some weight to their reasoning of why they've chosen to do that. Okay? And again, most cases it's out of fear. Let's face it, they're either fear they don't want to get caught for something they did wrong, or hiding something obvious. I mean, obviously fear is the basis of their lie. And when they, in that particular moment, analyze that particular lie, maybe it's very quick, maybe they had some time to think about it, irrelevant, they figured they were doing the right approach. In their mind, it was right. So your brain, let's face it, if you were thinking about something very quick, you're going to have a moment of justification. You're going to analyze something, and you're going to have your own thoughts, and you're going to come forward with that. Now, in the end, after you've done that, and if you realize it was too quick and you've made a mistake, then you're aware of this and you know that yourself. So the other person's going to have the same problem, okay? My real point I'm trying to make is, it used to tear me up a lot of times. I mean, I'm not saying it's just because somebody lies to you and you have that particular thought, all is roses and happy. But if you look at it on the perspective, not the lie, not the issue, not whatever that may be. Now, you don't look at it that way, but you look at it because how you feel, how you're reacting, how your body feels, your energy inside you. It's terrible when you're angry from someone lies, and you realize, okay, I don't want to own their problem, because you're owning it. It's their mistake. It's totally their mistake. Why own it? Why be part of it? Why get sucked into that world? And I don't know if that's going to help you guys at all, but if in a different aspect of things I look at a lot of things, try to look at things in a different perspective. And sometimes it's amazing how right away it feels like there's a weight lifted off of you, or you can understand, or you see things a little bit more clearly. And I would challenge you, the next time somebody upsets you that way through a lie, step back for just a moment and say, you know what, really think about it. Take a deep breath, meditate just a couple moments on it. I mean, I can't really meditate that well. And what I mean by meditate, you have to close your eyes and sit down and everything. I'm just talking about just take a deep breath, and in a moment of clarity, just tell yourself, if I'm getting angry, I'm owning their lie, their problem. I'm taking that onus and I'm putting it on me, And you may ask yourself now, well, no, I mean, I did nothing wrong. They lied to me. I have a right to be upset. Okay, sure. Not going to argue that, of course. Hence why I used to get so upset. Okay? But again, by getting upset from their mistake, you're owning it. You're owning their problem. And obviously, if you've been lied to, there's a reason. And so therefore, in a greater scheme of things, let's just assume 100% that you are right. Whatever the issue was, you got lied to and you were in the right and they were 100% in the wrong. So if you break it down to that scenario, then of course it is their problem because it was lied to you and everything given equal that you were 100% right and there was no reason for them to lie, then it was their problem that they're putting onto you. Don't inherit that problem. And that problem is anger. Okay? It becomes your problem when you react with anger and upset and, well, disappointment, of course. But disappointment's different than anger. Okay? We can be disappointed. We cannot trust. So I'm thinking you get the picture, obviously, but it's very liberating. For me, it was when I started approaching it on that level, thinking, okay, I'm not going to own it. I'm not going to own it. Then you can also get to a point where it's like, okay, now they're thinking that it's logical for this lie. Let's take that assumption for a minute. They're either trying to protect you or they're afraid. And let's give them the benefit of the doubt for a moment. So, and in reality, to some degree, you almost have to, because for whatever the reason was, they thought they were doing the right thing. Okay? So who's going to argue who is right or wrong? I mean, that's, again, a little bit of a rabbit hole. But they thought in the moment that they were doing the right thing. Now comes the step is where if I would have gotten this far, I would also have the problem with the forgiving. Now you can put yourself in a situation where you'll say, okay, fine, I don't want to inherit their problem. I don't want that makes sense to me. I got that. But I'm never going to trust them again, or I'm going to be cold shoulder. I'm going to be this. I mean, there is that in itself, okay, is a form of anger. Okay, if you do it out of spite, in the sense of I'm better, and I'm basically you're building a wall, okay, an emotional wall, and in a way that's still an anger. It's a form of anger. Okay, so that would be my next and most difficult thing to cross and understand as well, because if we go that forward way, we can have this kind of snooty attitude, if you will. Okay, whatever, I'm not going to inherit your problem, but you son of a whatever. Okay, so if you can get to the point where you realize, okay, it is obviously their problem, we've gotten that far, but also have the intention that, what, there's a reason why they did what they did. And for them, it was valid. And who am I to totally judge 100% with anger because I see things in a different view that they don't see? So by doing that, not only have you inherited, of course, and then if you do it without a form of forgiveness, that is still a form of anger. Okay? Now, sometimes I have a hard time explaining all this the way I want to express it. Okay? I just thought I'd really want to share that because it's something that has helped me out a lot when I view things like that, which I needed to do. And I would love to hear it in the comments what you are think or oppose or whatever. Tell me where I'm wrong as well. But again, I think one of the hardest things would be as well when you get to the point for forgiveness. Now, I have an issue with that as myself, because I would look at something. There is a difference between forgiveness and forgetting. Okay, you can forgive, doesn't mean you have to forget. And when you remember, you're just on a different level with the same person. Now, depending what the lie is, of course, and how extreme it is and how important it is to your life. So, but you still have room for the forgiveness. So let's take somebody that's very important to you and they've done a devastating lie, and you still want to be in communication. You don't want to have that wall around you. So you tell yourself, okay, for them, there was a very significant reason, because obviously if this person's significant to you, I'm going to assume they're significant to you. Okay. So there was a very important and valid reason for them in their mind why they did this. Okay. So accept that part of it and let it be. By remembering, okay, here's the careful part, then you just remember that in the future, of course, You know, there could be more lies, of course. That's the difference between just remembering and still putting up a wall, okay? How you treat them, how you respect them. You know, if you can understand that that is a point that they thought was adequate to take. It also, when you put it at level, when you start, let's backtrack right back to the beginning. If you say, I don't want to own their problem, if you're in that state of mind, okay, then you're also open-minded enough to realize, okay, what was the reasoning for their problem? Because you're a lot calmer now. Because the minute you realize I don't want to own it, you shouldn't be filled with rage. The minute you feel the rage, well, of course you own their problem, and it's your problem. Okay, so you've got to that part. So it's also a better time for a dialogue to understand. Okay, well, what was the reasoning? And you can have a bit more of a calm discussion, which is always more important. First of all, you should never really have a discussion when you're both heated up. Okay, because that's not a discussion. It's basically trying to prove a point, and whoever's got, you know, both people are thinking that their point is valid and more correct. You're not looking at the other point of view when you're doing something out of anger. Okay, it's usually out of an argument. So when you can take it from a point of view, again, I hate repeating myself over and over again, but I find it so important. Really understand the fact your anger, that anger equals you're taking it on. That problem is now you. It's part of you. I know it might sound silly and stupid because they lied to you, but that if it's out of anger from you, you're owning it. It's part of you, and then you're accepting that reality in you, if that kind of makes any sense. You know, and when you can avoid that anger level, you can have a much better dialogue with somebody. And you may be surprised, at the very minimum, you'll find out, well, if you sit back, I can kind of understand why they chose that option to lie, you know. It may happen quite easily. So those are my thoughts on that. And it's a little bit of a, you know, the first one's the easier stage. The second one is the forgiveness part of it. Forgiveness part of it is still, you got to realize if you can't forgive, there's going to be a bit of there is residing anger if you can't forgive, okay? And that will tear you apart as well. And then again, you're owning it. So anger is complete rage right off the beginning. We all accept that. But forgiveness, you got to have that forgiveness in there as well as the second stage, okay? And because if you can't, there's going to be part of anger in there. And I would say one of the easiest steps to do that is, again, really think about it. Think about their point of view for a moment, okay? The other person, you've got to tell yourself, well, there is a reason why they did this, okay? Well, we all know there's a reason, but we don't know the depths of that. We don't know how their emotions are. You know, when you try to explain to somebody your emotions, you can verbally express certain things. Of course, there's key words we all understand, but have you ever tried to really explain it in words? I would argue if you're have some deep thoughts, it's very difficult to relate that to somebody else. And even when they're giving you an answer that they understand, probably in the back of your mind thinking, I don't think they truly understand, because how can they? They're not you. They're not feeling your emotion, your reaction to their emotion, okay? And you got to remember, we all have that. So we're not going to totally understand their point of view or anything in that respect. We get a baseline, but we can't deeply, truly understand why they've chosen this, you know. And in the end of the day, it can also make you a better person. You can learn a lot of things from yourself by having those little techniques. And I say that because I see that in myself. And, you know, again, this is one of the subjects. The reason why I wanted to bring it up, because it actually is one of my most difficult subjects. I'm easygoing a lot of things. Lives is the biggest one for me. You know, it's the hardest ones to deal with. So please, you know, share out some where you think I'm wrong, or give me some feedback. Would be wonderful to hear. You guys all have a great day. Take care, and try that. Really, truly try that. Next time somebody lies to you, just step back for a moment. Think, I don't want to own that. I don't want to own it. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good one.